Hello, and welcome to a Skyrim thing. I'm about to declare war on my own generation with this one, but Skyrim is a really old game. And I know that modders are always giving it little refreshes, so you can always have something a little different going on in your annual playthrough, but the Oblivion remaster just came out, and it's a relative success, I'd argue, but I'm still seeing more new content being made about Skyrim. And yeah, I realize I'm contributing to that literally right now, but seriously, why are we still talking about this game? Before I dive in, I want to give a quick shout out to my members. These folks go above and beyond to support the channel, and I'm very grateful to them. Being a member is never required, but always appreciated. Thank you. If all goes according to plan during editing, at the time of this video's release, Skyrim was exactly 13 years, 7 months, and 13 days old. Well, okay, so 14 days if you want to include today, which it's noon my time when this goes live, so that's more than half a day, and that's usually the break point where I start to add the day because it's more than half, so I guess you could make a convincing argument. Skyrim is old enough to be slamming doors and yelling that Todd isn't its real dad. Do you know how many games have come out since then? Yeah, neither do I. I don't know that it's possible to know that number, but just for funsies, I went to the Wikipedia page for a category, video games by year, and yes, my knowing about Wikipedia's meta pages is grounds for you to call me a huge nerd. Also, I'm about to show screenshots of Excel in a YouTube video and be 100% serious about it, so I think it's fair to say I've wholly given up on ever refuting allegations of nerdery. Yeah, I'm a nerd. Excel is pretty great, actually. But I went to this weird page and I added up all the page counts from 2012 through 2024, and Wikipedia would like to claim that there have been... I want to really quickly thank today's sponsor. No, I want to make it really clear that I am aware how incredibly flawed this number is before I say it, for a huge number of reasons, but the big one being that Wikipedia is not a record of everything. There's a lot of favoritism bias in what things get pages made about them, so there's no guarantee these days that even a fairly high budget AA game will end up with a Wikipedia page, let alone indies. Like, yeah, Stardew Valley has its own dang subcategory with 8 pages, but that's the exception, not the norm. Also, yes, that does mean Stardew Valley is counting as 8 games when I say that Wikipedia would like to claim that there have been 7,525 games since 2011. And I ain't buying it. I mean, I know for a fact that this chart is guardung. There have been way more than 7,525 games since the end of 2011. Just in my own library, I have 140 games released since 2011, and I have 97 of them installed. That's 69%. Nice. But before we ask why we're all still talking about Skyrim, it's worth asking why so many of us even played it in the first place. There are 3 reasons everyone had a 360. 1. It beat the PS3 to market by an entire year. 2. It launched at $300 for the base model, or $400 for the 20 gig one, versus $500 for a 20 gig base PS3 and $600 for the 60 gig version. Okay, yeah, that's the main reason. That's a lot of damn money. Also, currency conversions on the screen. It was a lot of money. And 3, Halo 2 was the biggest thing gaming has or probably will ever see in terms of market share. It dominated the market like nothing has ever since. And the 360 was sold on the promise of Halo 3, but Halo 3 didn't come out until 22 months after the launch of the 360. And while Halo 2 was backwards compatible, and was over half of the network traffic on Xbox Live at the time, it's kind of a waste to not at least try some of the shiny next-gen stuff if you've got the hardware for it. If you remember these games, you know what I'm talking about. And Oblivion was one of them. By this time, Bethesda had already proven themselves with the success of Morrowind on the original Xbox, and Microsoft was putting some real marketing muscle behind their year-long exclusivity deal. so Oblivion was actually one of the more hyped early releases for the 360. It was also a few years after the Lord of the Rings movies, so Oblivion's landscapes of idyllic generic fantasy kinda just fell right into the public interest. But from the success of Oblivion, Bethesda was suddenly a known quantity to a critical mass of gamers, and they were able to push that reputation further with Fallout 3. And New Vegas. Different developer, but they still got credit for it, kinda. But through what I can only assume was sheer luck, Skyrim released 5 months after the first season of Game of Thrones ended. The public was ready for a grittier fantasy world full of dragons, and the live-action trailer was hype. I'm not saying Game of Thrones was responsible for Skyrim's art direction, but they leaned into the existing interest around Game of Thrones when they were working on the marketing. So I've established that Skyrim is old and we all played it because the marketing was really good. Is it just that we were all 12 in 2011, at our peak age for nostalgic impressionability? I mean, I was already drinking by the time Skyrim came out, but the point still stands. Are we all just blinded by nostalgia? Playing Skyrim with our very stylish rose-tinted glasses? I don't think so. I mean, just in the same year of release, we had Mass Effect 2, Killzone 3, Portal 2, Terraria, Fable 3, LA Noire, Bastion, Dead Island, Driver San Francisco, Forza Motorsport 4, the best one, Saints Row 3, and your favorite game, which I'm sure I'll hear about in the comments. And it's not because it's an infallible experience. There are multiple videos on this very channel where I discuss some of the various and numerous flaws of Skyrim. But even I, known Skyrim hater that I am, kinda like this piece of crap. I keep coming back to it. And it's not to hate play it. I'm not really down with that. Once I diagnose a game and come to a solid conclusion about my opinion on it, I stop playing it if I'm not enjoying myself. But I, and many others, probably most of you watching this, keep coming back and playing this game, year after year. I hear about people who do not otherwise play old games, but do an annual Skyrim playthrough. I don't hear about that for any of the other games I listed. Nope, it's Skyrim that people come back to. So it begs a question. But before I ask that question, I have a confession to make. I did a tricky to you a minute ago. You know that list of games? Well, I left a couple out. Version 1.0 of Minecraft and Dark Souls also released in 2011, and it's fair to say those are two industry-changing titles, so let's address them. Minecraft exists in a completely different cultural space compared to Skyrim. It is a continuous product, while Skyrim and Dark Souls were one-shot releases, barring various re-releases and DLC and such. Minecraft has managed to never be old, but Skyrim is rapidly becoming an old game. Yeah, it feels weird, doesn't it? Skyrim feels sort of timeless, like a classic that will be played forever, like Doom, handed down between generations, like Casablanca. I don't think I've seen Casablanca. Why did I write that? It's like Jaws. Yeah, that's more comparable to Doom anyway. They're both in caps. In any case, Skyrim is old, but Minecraft is somehow still the cool party that never stopped, except it's gone through fans of Theseus like 5 times, and it's something very different these days. Anyway, I think Minecraft and Skyrim are apples and oranges, which leaves Dark Souls. Dark Souls is certainly a contender for still being talked about, but it's also spawned an entire genre that continues to flourish and evolve, while Skyrim remains an island. It has not been superseded by Fallout 4. It certainly hasn't been overtaken by Starfield. So has just nothing come out to fill this void? This niche where a Skyrim should be? In terms of console generations, Skyrim came out on the 360 and PS3. Right at the tail end, much like GTA 5, another notable game from that little window, but it came out on the 360 and PS3. Since then, we've had the Xbox One and PS4, the Xbox Series and the PS5, and we're rapidly heading into the next console generation, whatever that ends up looking like in our current own-nothing corporate dystopia. How is it that it's been 2 entire console generations, and that additional horsepower and additional development power hasn't been able to host an equivalent experience. Witcher 3 and Cyberpunk 2077 come to mind, but yeah, they don't quite scratch that same itch, do they? Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 might be the closest we've got, which I really need to play, but it hasn't caught on like Skyrim. And from what I've seen, it probably isn't accessible enough to catch on like Skyrim, no matter what the marketing budget may have been. So the answer is kind of no. Nothing has come out that threatens to dethrone Skyrim. Sometimes it doesn't even seem like anyone is trying to fill the gap. Even with indies like Dread Delusion, Ardenfall, and Tainted Grail, options are limited and copies aren't exactly flying off the virtual shelves anyway. So we're left with Skyrim, which, if we're being real, it's not actually that good. It's good, but it's riddled with problems. I'm sure the comments to this very video are full of suggestions for mods on how to reinvent it and make it amazing. So there's a lot of little holes to patch, and that leaves us with the idea of what Skyrim could have been. We've been left to wonder, to imagine, and even to make through mods for a decade and a half, what the perfect version of Skyrim could be. Bethesda, I think, has been trying to figure that out as well. That's what Fallout 4, 76, and Starfield were, testing the waters for different directions they could take. But now the candle burns low, and Big Daddy Microsoft wants that Skyrim money. The Elder Scrolls 6 needs to deliver on a promise that we've all hyped up over 14 years into something that, realistically, they'll never be able to achieve. But I sure hope they do. I think we're all hoping for that. And that's why we still talk about Skyrim. Why retrospectives keep getting made about it. Because we want to see the Elder Scrolls become the best version of itself. But we all have a slightly different idea of what that would be. And with that, I want to remind you that the like and subscribe buttons are down there if you want them, and the comment section is always open. There's also a Discord and a Blue Sky in the description if you're into that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, thank you very much for stopping by and lending me your ear. And, as always, have a great one.